Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot and repair a dryer that won't heat your clothes. So let's get into it. Okay, so over the holidays, the dryer just stopped working on us. And the symptoms that we were experiencing was that the dryer would run, the timer would just stick in one spot, it wouldn't move, and the dryer was just blowing cold air. Okay, so we knew something was up. You could leave this thing on for 3 or 4 hours, try different settings on the dials, nothing was changing. Okay, I cleaned the lint trap out, and then I realized, okay, we still gotta have a problem here. Now, what'll happen is, for an issue like this, I exercise my Google foo a little bit, and there's about 3 or 4 components in here that could be acting up. You could have the actual timer motor itself that could be having an issue. There's a fuse on the heater in here, could be the heater itself. There's also a cycling thermostat, another type of thermostat that's in here, and then a high limit cutoff switch. So when I started looking into individual parts from the manufacturer, they were super pricey, okay? Like the fuse alone, I think was like almost $30 or $40. I had looked into getting a replacement dryer to match that fancy washing machine we have, but they're super expensive. Here in Canada, I was looking at around $550 to $750 on the cheap end to get a replacement. So I went to good old Amazon and I was able to find this, and I'll put a link in the description below here for you guys. But basically, it's a complete dryer heating element repair kit. It comes with everything you need, all those parts that I listed here. So I figured I'd take the old shotgun approach and just throw a bunch of parts at this thing for $50 and see if we can get it running. So come on in, let's take a look and I'll show you where we're gonna get started. Okay, so I'll get started here just by showing you guys some of the parts that come with the kit here. All right, so if we take a look here, we've got the actual heater element itself, which is really nice. You're getting that for $50, and apparently it's a nickel plated one, so we'll see how good it actually is if we need it. We've got some wiring here. I marked these bags myself, but we've got the cycling thermostat, and this is what keeps the dryer in the sweet spot in terms of temperature. So, I'm suspecting that maybe it's this guy here. We've got the actual fuse itself, and this, like I was saying, this was like a super expensive part on its own, okay? So again, the fact that I was able to get everything in the kit for a relatively cheap price was awesome. We've got the dryer thermostat here, okay? And then we've got that thermal cutoff switch just to make sure that the temperature doesn't get too hot. Okay, as always, to get this job done, I've got a multimeter, and this one's nothing super crazy. This is just like a generic one from Canadian Tire here, but this is so I can test continuity on the fuses. And just again, so you have a general idea, continuity, it means, do we have continuation of a circuit? Okay, can power flow from one side to the other? And that's really important to be able to check when we're doing this stuff here. Okay, also got some needle nose pliers, and I've just got a multi-angled screwdriver bit. All right, so that's pretty much everything we should need to get the job done here. If we do need anything else, I'll make sure that I point it out in the video in terms of what you need for parts here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull this guy away from the wall. We're gonna disconnect the dryer hose, and we're gonna disconnect the power. We can get the back off, and then we can start finding where all these components are, and we can start testing things. So something else you're gonna wanna keep in mind before we maybe even get to that point is you gotta understand, if you need to go and buy some replacement parts, well, how do you know what you're gonna need, okay? On my dryer here, I can see that I've got a Whirlpool, okay? And this is a pretty old school dryer. It's really simple, not a lot of technology in here, but one of the most important things I'm gonna need here is I'm gonna need the model number or the part number. So when I open this up here and I take a look, okay, I can see that my model number is a YLER 46346Q0. Okay, so when it comes to looking for replacement parts, especially when you go on Amazon, like that's how I was able to track down that parts kit, is that I was just able to kind of match up those part numbers. You got to remember, Whirlpool, Maytag, Amana, bunch of those brands. These are pretty generic machines and they all use pretty much the same components, but just make sure that your model number shows up on that list because there could be some subtle differences. Once you start getting into the more modern equipment, that's where things can get really dicey because you're starting to deal with circuit boards, control boards, a lot more electronics. These are pretty simple beasts at the end of the day. So let's get into it. Once we're back here, all right, and also you probably noticed all this janky here. That is my exhaust system for the dryer. We're gonna be fixing that in a future video, okay? So I can already hear the comments just igniting but that is definitely something that we're going to be addressing a little bit later on here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, this is the power plug for my dryer right here. So what I'm going to do, first things first, disconnect that. Now I've killed power to the dryer. Now I know it's safe to actually go ahead and work on this thing. Okay, so the next thing we're going to have to get through is going to be all the way down there. Might be a little tough to see, but we need just to disconnect the actual exhaust hose from the dryer. So let's get that done. Okay, now normally, and it's probably really hard for you guys to see here, normally to get this disconnected, there is a screw here that we just have to loosen on this band clamp that you can probably barely see right now, okay? But all I have to do here in this case is just pull it off. All right, so now we've got that disconnected. Okay, let's get this thing spun around and let's start getting inside of it. Okay, so now that we got this thing flipped around here, what we're gonna do is we gotta pull out all these screws here on the back to be able to actually get into this thing. So let's get started and do that first. Now, quick little trick. One of those multi-bit screwdrivers without the tip in it does a really great job of actually being able to take these off. You don't need a specific socket or anything like that. So let's start with that. And then what we're also gonna do is we're gonna clean this thing up a little bit after as we need to. All right, let's see what kind of goodies we have in store. Ugh. All right, so definitely a little bit of dust and gunk here. All right. Ugh. All right, let's go ahead and we're gonna get this vacuumed out and then we can really see what we're working with here. Okay, so now that we've got this relatively clean, now we can go ahead and take a look at some of the parts. So the very first one that we've got here is we've got that fuse that we were talking about. So this is the first thing I'm gonna check for continuity. Once I've checked that fuse out, then I'm gonna go ahead and I am gonna check the cycling thermostat. That's the next piece that we see right here, okay? I'm thinking my issue is gonna lie somewhere in those two things. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the wires off of the fuse, okay? So it's blue to blue, no big deal here, all right? So I would normally take a picture of these if I was just a little bit confused in terms of what went where, but for this I think we're gonna be fine. Just leave them up there. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my multimeter here, okay? I'm gonna turn it to the continuity setting, and everyone's meter is gonna be a little bit different, but with that continuity setting, when I touch these two probes together, let's put that by the mic, you guys can hear the beep. Yeah, that means we've got continuity. That is the sound we want to get, okay? So when I take these two probes and I touch them to either end of that fuse here, if the meter beeps, I know the fuse is good. So let's see what we get here. Okay, there we go. So that's beeping. That means to tell me that that fuse is good. Okay, so now we got to start working our way down the troubleshooting train here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to plug those two wires back on here because I know that that is not where my problem is. Darn, I thought it was going to be easy. We'd be done in a couple minutes here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to test here is the cycling thermostat, okay? Now on this cycling thermostat, when you test these outside legs, and I know it's a little tough to see just the way I got the camera set up here, we'll give you a better view here. With this piece here, okay, when I test these two outside pieces, I'll take it out of the bag so we can actually see it. Now we're talking. There we go, that's better. So when I test the two outside pieces here and here, okay, at room temperature, same thing. I should have continuity and this thing should beep. So let's see what happens here. Room temperature with the new one, no problem. I've got continuity, okay. Let's go ahead and check this one. So same thing, I'm gonna unhook the big red wire at the top, and I know that I've got a red and a white at the bottom. Just make sure I replace those in the same order. Let's test this fella for continuity. Yep, we got continuity at room temperature. Okay, so we know that that's good. Now here's the thing. to test the high side with this particular switch, that's where things are going to get a little bit more interesting, okay? Because to test the high side, technically I'd have to pull this switch out, and then what I would have to do is kind of put this business end on like a hot plate, something that I know I could set the temperature to, and it says right here, 155 Fahrenheit. Again, don't know if the camera's going to pick that up. Maybe this one will. Yeah, there you go. So if I can set this to 155 Fahrenheit, and then same thing, I would run my probes across the inside pieces and I could run my continuity test that way. Okay, so again, that's something to be mindful of there. So I'm starting to run out of parts. That's 2 of the 4 big pieces that I could check here. So I'm going to keep working my way down the train here. Now, again, it could potentially be an issue with the high side. I don't know, but again, if in doubt, I could just start hammering all these parts in here, okay? But again, we're gonna kind of keep testing our way through just to see what we wind up with. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna reconnect these wires for the time being. Okay. Okay, and now this is gonna get me to my cutoff switch here. Now, this cutoff switch should only kick in if it detects a certain temperature within the dryer. And just to show you guys what I'm talking about here, yeah, that's going to be this fella right here, okay? So there's potential that I could have an issue there, okay? But also it could be the actual dryer thermostat itself, okay? So same thing. I've got this piece here as well that we could take a look at. So let's go ahead and try taking a look and testing those pieces there. Okay, so the next thing that I think I'm going to try testing out here is actually going to be the heater, okay? I'm going to start working from the bottom of this equation up now, all right? So again, this is what the replacement heater element looks like for one of these dryers, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these terminals, I'm going to use my multimeter. Again, I'm going to test for continuity. Meter should beep when I do this. So we'll take our probes, touch them to there. Perfect, I got a beep, okay? So I know brand new element is in fact good, okay? So what I'm gonna try to do here is I'm gonna see if I can pull these probes off and I'm gonna test this element here, okay? Again, and I've got that, I also have that dryer cutoff switch, or rather that dryer thermostat switch as well. So again, this is all kind of built in together. It's not quite one unit here, but what I'll do is let's pull this wire off here, okay? And I've got this probe here on this side. Let's take my meter. Oh, okay, let me just make sure I'm getting good contact here. Ah, nothing. Okay, so when I touch my probes here, again, you guys can hear that. There's nothing there, okay? So if I'm touching the probes together here like this, or rather I'm touching these 2 terminals and I'm not getting anything, I think the heater is gonna be my issue, okay? So let's go ahead, we're gonna get the heater out of here. So to do that, I've got a screw here. Okay, let's remove that screw. Okay. Then let's remove this screw here. Perfect. Okay, got those out. Now this should drop this heater unit. Yeah, just like that. Drops the heater element right out of there. Okay, so there we go. So let's go ahead and get this heater element swapped in. Okay, so this is important. You guys gotta help me remember this after, okay? Big red wire goes to this leg here. You know what? We're just gonna take a picture of it so we know exactly what goes where for the replacement one. There we go. Okay, now again, don't know if this is gonna make a big deal or not, but I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is the plate. Maybe the camera will pick it up, I don't know. But bottom line is inside of this plate here, there is a big crack. Again, don't know if that has anything to do specifically with this particular issue or not, but yeah, there's a big old crack in here. Now, again, not actually tied to the element, but who knows, maybe that caused my issue here. All right, so let's go ahead and get these pieces swapped in and then we're gonna be good to go. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the existing model as the template for my new one here, okay? So what I'm gonna do first is actually get the dryer thermostat, this piece out here, so we can get that installed. Let's get that popped out, perfect, okay. All right, and if I look here, I can see that this piece on this one is beveled out. And then this little piece kind of looks like it just inserts to lock everything in place there. Okay, oh, well, that works its magic that way. Okay, cool. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my needle nose pliers, I'm gonna bend this piece up just a bit like that. All right, let's see, this is gonna be fun. Basically something like that. Then we're gonna lock that piece on that leg. Kind of like that, okay, this isn't so bad. All right, so let's do this first. That's in there. Come on, you rascal. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Right on. Now that's in. Okay. So off camera, we just consulted the legend here, and now we can go ahead and we can get the new assembly wired up here. So let's get this guy reinstalled. So this one coming off the top of the harness is going to go here. Okay. Little orange is going to go here. Oh. Okay, now those are super loose, so I'm actually going to just try to recrimp these just a little bit to make sure we've got a good contact and that nothing comes loose. Okay, now we just slip this back up into place here. Just like that. Look at that, our holes even kind of line up with the new one. Great. And we're going to take our screwdriver, reinstall the screws on either side. Just like that, we're almost there. I think we got it. Then what we're gonna do is, before I button this thing up and put it all away like how it should be, I'm gonna go ahead, plug the power back in with the back off here, and I'm gonna test this thing to see now if it throws heat. Perfect. All right. Okay, this one I don't like. This one is super loose, so we're gonna recrimp this. That's better. Okay guys, moment of truth. Let's plug this thing back in and see if this just goes up in a ball of flames or if we nailed it. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, well so far I can smell heat, so that's a good sign, okay? Ooh, I think I can feel heat, which is an even better sign. But let's just see what we're working with here. And keep in mind, that's on my low setting. Yeah, right on, guys. I think we nailed it. So this thing's, oh yeah, she's heating up. Okay, perfect. Right on. Okay, so that just goes to show you folks, you can easily take care of something like this on your own. Whoa, that's getting warm. Let's just turn this off here. Whew. Okay, there we go. So there you go, folks. That just goes to show you it's super easy to take care of a project like this on your own, just with a little bit of troubleshooting, a multimeter, and a relatively cheap box of parts. Now, obviously, we'll see how long this holds up, but as always, folks, you know the drill. If this video was helpful, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel for more great content like this, and let me know what you thought of this process in the comments below. What would you have done differently? Would you have just gotten a new dryer, or do you think that this was worth the time and effort? Okay, well folks, we'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.